Hey there, my name is Ibinye Oshibodo Onyali. Most people call me Ivy. I'm a licensed therapist in Marietta, California, and today I'm going to be talking to you about questions you should ask your therapist before you start therapy. So if you don't know me and if it's the first time you're watching a video of mine, I love to talk about anxiety, insomnia, relationships, and the therapy process because I know it's very difficult to make the decision to come into therapy. You're not sure what to expect. So without much further ado, when you make the decision that you're ready to start therapy, what questions should you ask the therapist? Okay, before we get into the questions, ask yourself, what kind of therapist do I want? For some people, they want a male therapist. Some people want a female therapist. Some want a therapist of a particular age. Others are very specific about the therapist's religion. So they want a Christian therapist, a Muslim therapist, a Jewish therapist, an atheist therapist. So it's important to ask yourself that as well. So let's jump in. Questions to ask the therapist. So number one, I typically offer a free 15-minute phone consultation for every new client. And I strongly suggest that before you work with a therapist that you actually do a phone consultation, get to hear their voice, get to kind of get a feel for their personality and see how you feel, see if you connect with that therapist. Because I always say it doesn't really matter how expensive the therapist is or the location of the therapist or how many people recommended the therapist. If you don't feel like that therapist is a good fit for you, it's going to be very difficult for you to make progress in therapy, okay? So first question that you should ask the therapist is, what do your sessions look like? What does your process look like? Therapists have different orientations of the way that they work, and they all work differently. They all talk differently. They all have different worldviews. So it's important to ask the therapist, what do your sessions look like? Second, ask the therapist, how long will sessions take? Some therapists see clients for 30 minutes, some do 45 minutes, some do 50 minutes, some do upwards of 50 minutes. So it's important to ask that. Is the therapist expecting you to come in every week, every other week, once a month? What does their schedule look like? Some therapists are fully booked and they can't see you week to week. I prefer to see my clients every week to start and taper down as progress becomes more and more. Third is asking, where are you located? So that you know, are you willing to make a commute to see the therapist? And if you are maybe traveling or you're out of town, can the therapist see you online or can they talk to you over the phone? So that's also something to think about. Where are you located and do you have the option for online sessions? You don't have to love online sessions. Some people don't like online sessions and that's perfectly fine. Also asking the therapist, how do you work? So is it going to be talk therapy? Some therapists, take you out and do walk and talk therapy. Some therapists do something like EMDR. I do CBT for insomnia, which is a quick treatment for insomnia, and you'll get worksheets and it's very hands-on. So it's important to make sure that their style matches your personality. Get a feel for their personality, ask them different questions, ask them also, have you ever worked with a client who's struggling with what I'm struggling with? Ask them that, so to see if they have experience in whatever you're struggling with. And then, of course, matters of cost. Some clients prefer not to use their insurance. Some prefer to use their insurance. It's totally up to you. So I would say to ask the therapist, what kind of information will you be sharing with my insurance? Or do I have an option to not use my insurance? Ask those questions. And of course, cost. How much is therapy going to cost? Now, I never suggest that you pick a therapist because of cost, because the cheapest therapist is not necessarily the best. The most expensive therapist is not necessarily the best either. So just kind of go with your gut and go with your feel. It's okay to talk to multiple therapists before you make a decision, but it's totally up to you. If you're choosing to use your insurance, I always say call your insurance to make sure that you know what they're willing to cover, so that way you can budget everything in. Okay, so just a quick rundown of the questions to ask. You can ask about insurance and cost. ask about sessions. What do your sessions look like? What is expected of me? How long will therapy take? How long are the sessions? Where are you located? Do you have the option for online or phone counseling? Not all insurance companies, by the way, cover online and phone counseling. So again, always talk to your insurance company before you see a therapist, just to make sure that you're covered. If you have any other questions, feel free to message me. You can find me at thezinniapractice.com. Zinnia is Zinnia. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.